The air hung heavy with humidity, a thick blanket that seemed to wrap around the city, making every breath feel labored. The sun beat down relentlessly on the bustling streets of Medellin, Colombia, casting long shadows and creating a shimmering haze that danced above the asphalt. This was Pablo Escobar's first home. Born in 1949, he was a child of poverty, growing up in a world where every day was a struggle for survival. His family struggled to survive, living hand-to-mouth in a cramped, dilapidated house that barely kept out the elements. The crowded barrio offered little opportunity, a maze of narrow streets and makeshift homes where hope was a rare commodity. Yet, it was here, amidst the poverty and desperation, that a young Pablo began to learn the ways of the world. He observed the daily grind, the small victories, and the crushing defeats of those around him. He saw the disparities between the rich and the poor, the stark contrast between the opulent mansions on the hills and the squalid shacks in the valleys. He witnessed the corruption that festered within the city, the way money could grease the wheels of power and make the impossible possible. These early experiences would shape his worldview and set him on a path that would forever alter the course of his life. He learned that power was not given, but taken, and that wealth was the key to unlocking doors. Even as a young boy, Pablo possessed an undeniable charisma, a magnetic presence that drew people to him and made them listen when he spoke. He was intelligent and ambitious, always looking for ways to improve his situation, to rise above the circumstances of his birth. He yearned for a life beyond the slums, a life where he could be more than just another faceless child in a sea of poverty. He craved power and wealth, the trappings of success that he saw in the lives of the rich and powerful. The streets of Medellin, though harsh and unforgiving, became his classroom. They taught him lessons that no school could, lessons about survival, about human nature, and about the ways of the world. He learned to hustle, to survive, to make the most of every opportunity, no matter how small. He sold whatever he could, did whatever jobs came his way, always with an eye on the bigger picture. He developed a street-smart cunning that would serve him well in the years to come. A sharp mind that could see angles and opportunities where others saw only obstacles. Little did he know, these early lessons would lay the foundation for a criminal empire. The skills he honed in the streets of Medellin would one day make him one of the most powerful and feared men in the world. He watched the older boys, learning from their successes and their mistakes, always taking mental notes on what worked and what didn't. He began to build a network, forming alliances with those who could help him and avoiding those who couldn't. Even at a young age, he understood the importance of connections. In quiet moments, he would reflect on his future, dreaming of the day when he would no longer be bound by the limitations of his birth. He knew that he was destined for something greater, something that would leave a mark on the world. He showed early signs of his negotiation skills, making deals with a confidence that belied his age. He knew how to read people, how to find their weaknesses and use them to his advantage. With a determined look in his eyes, he set his sights on the future, ready to take on whatever challenges came his way. The streets of Medellin had prepared him well, and he was ready to make his mark. As he walked through the streets of his childhood, there was a sense of purpose in his stride. He was no longer just a boy from the slums. He was a young man with a vision, a dream that he was determined to make a reality. From a high vantage point, he would look out over the city, imagining the empire he would one day build. The seeds of his future were planted in these early years, nurtured by the harsh realities of life in Medellin. Among his friends, he was a natural leader, the one they looked to for guidance and direction. He had a vision, and he knew how to inspire others to follow him. He was always making plans, thinking several steps ahead, always with an eye on the future. His strategic thinking would one day make him a formidable force in the world of crime. In moments of triumph, he would savor his successes, knowing that each small victory was a step closer to his ultimate goal. The streets of Medellin had taught him well, and he was ready to take on the world. With a determined look, he faced the future, ready to carve out his place in the world. The lessons of his youth had prepared him for the challenges ahead, and he was ready to make his mark on history. The teenage years brought a restless energy to Pablo. He was a young man with a fire in his belly, a burning desire to break free from the constraints of his mundane existence. The urban environment of the 1950s and 1960s, with its bustling streets and hidden corners, became his playground. He grew impatient with the limitations of his life, the daily grind, the lack of opportunities, and the constant struggle to make ends meet weighed heavily on him. He would often stare out the window, yearning for something more, something beyond the confines of his impoverished neighborhood. The allure of easy money proved too strong to resist. The sight of cash, the feel of it in his hands, ignited a spark within him. He became determined to find a way to make that money his own, no matter the cost. Petty theft became his trade. He started small, lifting items from market stalls and stores. Each successful theft brought a rush of excitement, a sense of accomplishment that fueled his desire for more. He honed his skills as a thief. Lockpicking, pickpocketing, and sneaking around cars became second nature to him. He practiced tirelessly, perfecting his techniques and becoming more confident with each passing day. He started small, stealing tombstones and selling them to shady dealers. The graveyards at night became his hunting grounds, and the dark alleys his marketplace. It was a grim business, but it paid well, and it was just the beginning. He graduated to car theft, his confidence growing with each successful heist. Hot-wiring cars and driving them away under the cover of darkness became his new thrill. The stakes were higher, but so were the rewards. The thrill of the crime, the adrenaline rush of a narrow escape, it intoxicated him. Each successful theft was a victory, each narrow escape a testament to his growing prowess. He lived for the rush, the feeling of being alive in those fleeting moments of danger. He reveled in the danger, the feeling of living on the edge. His reputation grew. Among his peers, he was seen as a daring and confident young man, someone who thrived in the face of danger. He celebrated his successes with friends, each victory adding to his legend. He became known on the streets as someone who wasn't afraid to take risks. His defiant stance and fearless attitude earned him respect and admiration. He was a leader, a figure to be reckoned with in the urban jungle. His gang of petty thieves expanded, drawn to his charisma and daring. They planned their heists meticulously, each member playing a crucial role. Together, they became a formidable force, a gang that struck fear into the hearts of shopkeepers and residents alike. But Pablo was far from satisfied. Despite his successes, there was a nagging feeling of unfulfillment. He knew he was capable of more, that his true potential had yet to be realized. He spent countless hours contemplating his next move, searching for a way to elevate his game. He had tasted the fruits of crime, but his ambition craved more. The cityscape, with its towering buildings and luxurious items, called out to him. He wanted a piece of that world, a taste of the high life that seemed just out of reach. He set his sights on bigger prizes. The petty thefts and car heists were no longer enough. He began plotting with his friends, pointing at maps and planning their next big score. The stakes were higher, but so were the potential rewards. The world of organized crime beckoned. The allure of the mafia with its power and influence was impossible to ignore. Pablo saw an opportunity to climb the ranks, to become more than just a petty thief. He was ready to take the plunge, to embrace the dark and dangerous world of organized crime. The intoxicating aroma of marijuana filled the air. It was the 1970s, and the demand for marijuana was skyrocketing. Pablo saw an opportunity, a chance to expand his criminal enterprise. He entered the marijuana trade, smuggling small quantities from Colombia to the United States. His natural business acumen flourished. He understood the dynamics of supply and demand. He built a network of contacts, securing reliable suppliers and establishing smuggling routes. Violence became a necessary tool. He eliminated rivals, consolidating his power and influence. His ruthlessness became legendary. His name, once whispered in the back alleys of Medellin, was now spoken with a mix of fear and respect. But Pablo's ambition knew no bounds. Marijuana, he realized, was just the beginning. A new drug was emerging, a drug that promised even greater profits and power: cocaine. Cocaine, a word that evokes images of both glamour and destruction. This potent white powder has a history as complex as it is dark. The white powder flooded the streets of America, infiltrating every level of society. From the bustling city streets to the quiet suburban neighborhoods, no place was immune to its reach. It was a drug that promised wealth beyond imagination. For those willing to take the risk, the rewards were astronomical. Pablo Escobar recognized its potential early on. He saw an opportunity to build an empire unlike any other. With a keen eye for strategy and an unrelenting drive, he began to lay the groundwork for what would become a global operation. He established connections with coca farmers in Bolivia and Peru, securing a steady supply of the raw material. These relationships were crucial, as they ensured a constant flow of coca leaves to fuel his burgeoning empire. Deep in the Colombian jungle, far from the prying eyes of authorities, he built clandestine labs. Here, skilled chemists transformed the raw coca leaves into pure, uncut cocaine. He pioneered innovative smuggling techniques that would become legendary in the world of drug trafficking. From hidden airstrips in the jungle, small planes would take off under the cover of night, laden with their illicit cargo. But planes were just the beginning. He used fishing boats, cleverly disguised to avoid detection, and even human mules who risked their lives to transport his product. Each method was a testament to his ingenuity and relentless ambition. To ensure the smooth operation of his empire, he bribed officials at every level. Law enforcement agencies, politicians, and even military personnel were on his payroll. Those who couldn't be bought were eliminated without hesitation. His ruthlessness knew no bounds. The streets ran red with the blood of those who dared to oppose him. Cartel violence became a grim reality, with countless lives lost in the crossfire. He forged alliances with other powerful traffickers, forming the notorious Medellin cartel. This coalition of criminal minds controlled the cocaine trade with an iron fist, leaving a trail of fear and devastation in their wake. They controlled every aspect of the cocaine trade, from production to distribution. Their network was vast and intricate, spanning continents and evading law enforcement at every turn. Pablo Escobar, the once petty thief from the slums, was now a force to be reckoned with. His rise to power was meteoric, fueled by a combination of cunning, brutality, and an unyielding desire for dominance. He had become a legend in the underworld, the undisputed king of cocaine. Crowds cheered his name, and his influence extended far beyond the borders of Colombia. Yet, with great power came great peril, and Escobar's reign was marked by both triumph and tragedy.